Hi there guys, so apparently Oleksandr Usyk is going to throw a spanner into the works and he will enforce his mandatory opportunity when he beats Derek Chisora. That is what Oleksandr Usyk plans to do. Now obviously what we wanted to happen was Anthony Joshua to deal with his mandatory, Kubrat Pulev, and for Tyson Fury to deal with the third fight with Deontay Wilder, and then have Undisputed in December. Now it is looking like Oleksandr Usyk is not going to allow that to happen because he is WBO mandatory and he will enforce his opportunity after facing Derek Chisora. He is waiting now so that he can fight Anthony Joshua in the summer or later on in the summer. And obviously Anthony Joshua can then deal with his IBF mandatory, Kubrat Pulev, but he is not willing to wait any longer. This is what Oleksandr Usyk's manager had to say. They can't, how can they do that? Right now we have to win against Derek Chisora. Then after that, we are mandatory to fight for the WBO, and that has to happen. I believe Anthony also wants to fight. Good fighters want to fight good fighters. Anthony sees a good challenge in Oleksandr Usyk and wants to go there. Everyone says Oleksandr will give Anthony problems, but Anthony believes the opposite. So Anthony wants to prove that he is stronger. In the UK would make sense. It wouldn't make sense for both fighters to go to the States with one boxer from the UK and one from Ukraine. And the UK fans know Oleksandr Usyk now. So there we go. It looks like there is going to be a spanner thrown into the works by Team Usyk. Now obviously they must come through Derek Chisora first. That is what they have to do. That is what they must focus on. They cannot focus on Anthony Joshua because Derek Chisora is coming to fight. So they must focus on him first. Otherwise, Derek Chisora will cause a seismic upset if they underestimate him. So they must come through him first. Now, obviously, they are going to enforce their mandatory position on Anthony Joshua because they are waiting now so that Anthony Joshua can deal with his IBF mandatory and then his WBO mandatory in chronological order. Now, that also means that Anthony Joshua cannot fight Tyson Fury after Kubrat Pulev, provided he comes through that fight. I think he will. But anyway, he cannot fight Tyson Fury because he must fight his WBO mandatory, Oleksandr Usyk. But again, that relies on many variables. That relies on Oleksandr Usyk coming through Derek Chisora. That also relies on Anthony Joshua beating Kubrat Pulev. Now, Oleksandr Usyk can say he's going to enforce his position. He can say that he's not going to allow the undisputed fight to happen. But one thing that could happen is if Anthony Joshua beats Pulev and wants to make that Tyson Fury fight, and Tyson Fury wants it as well, they can write to the WBO and ask for an exception to make a unification fight. And in some cases, a governing body will prioritize a unification fight over a mandatory. Anthony Joshua done it when he fought Joseph Parker, I believe. He asked for an exception on his WBA mandatory so that he could fight Joseph Parker for the WBO heavyweight world title. He asked for an exception to make a unification fight, and they granted that. So perhaps the WBO would be happy to grant an exception to Anthony Joshua to go and make a unification fight against Tyson Fury. And it's not just a unification fight, it's for Undisputed. So maybe that Undisputed fight to see who is best of this era would take priority over a mandatory challenger. And it would be quite cool, to be honest. Undisputed heavyweight world champion taking on his mandatory former undisputed cruiserweight world champion. Current heavyweight undisputed world champion versus former cruiserweight undisputed world champion. That would be quite cool. But anyway, guys, what are your thoughts on this? Apparently, Oleksandr Usyk is going to throw a spanner into the works for this undisputed fight between Tyson Fury and Anthony Joshua by enforcing his mandatory position on the WBO world title. Guys, drop your thoughts in the comments below, click the thumbs up and subscribe if you are new. Thanks, guys.